There is 1 spoon of a common vegetable that, stirred into a glass of water and taken every morning, can relax your arteries and bring your blood pressure down within a few hours on the same morning you drink it. And I know how that sounds, because we have all been trained to believe that once your pressure goes up after 60, your only option is a pill every day for the rest of your life. Stay with me, because what I am about to show you is backed by a study published in one of the top heart journals in the world, and it won a Nobel Prize in medicine along the way. Here's what I want you to understand right at the start. If you are over 60 and your pressure keeps creeping up, the reason is probably very different from what your doctor had 7 minutes to explain to you. It has almost nothing to do with the thing everyone blames. And once you understand the real reason, this simple morning habit is going to make complete sense. So here is exactly what you are going to get in the next few minutes. I am going to show you what actually drives blood pressure up as we age. I am going to show you the 1 spoon that turns it around, the exact amount to use, and the precise time of day to take it. Then I am going to give you the 3 mistakes that quietly cancel the whole thing out, so you do not waste your money or your effort. And there is one detail about when you take this spoon, the specific window in your morning, that matters more than the spoon itself. Most people get that part wrong. We will get there. Let me start by clearing up the biggest misunderstanding about high blood pressure, because everything else depends on it. Let me ask you something. When you think about high blood pressure, what is the first thing that comes to mind? For almost everyone, the answer is salt. Put down the salt shaker, watch the sodium, and your pressure will behave. That advice has been repeated for so long that we treat it as a settled fact. Here's what is fascinating. For a large portion of people, cutting salt barely moves the needle at all. Researchers have a name for this. They talk about people being salt sensitive, meaning their pressure really does respond to sodium, and salt resistant, meaning it does not respond much either way. And when you look at the numbers, only about half of people with high blood pressure are truly salt sensitive. For the other half, you can take away the salt shaker completely, and their pressure sits almost exactly where it was. Think about what that means. Millions of people over 60 are carefully avoiding salt, feeling guilty about a pinch on their eggs, and getting very little in return. Because in their case, salt was never the main driver. So why does the salt story survive? Because it is simple, it is easy to say in a short appointment, and there is a grain of truth in it. Salt does matter for some people, but it is one small piece of a much bigger picture, and we have let that one piece take up the entire frame. Here is the number that should get your attention. Even with medication, a large share of adults over 60 never actually reach their target blood pressure. They are doing what they were told. They are taking the pill, and the reading at the top of the chart still will not come down. That is a clue. That tells you the conversation has been aimed at the wrong target this whole time. The real story of blood pressure after 60 is about the pipes that carry the blood, not only what is floating inside them. So let us look at what is actually happening inside those pipes as the years go by. Picture the arteries you were born with. When you are young, a healthy artery is soft, springy, and flexible, a lot like a brand new garden hose. When your heart pushes a wave of blood through it, the artery gives a little. It expands to absorb the pressure, then settles back. That flex is doing quiet, important work every single second, smoothing out the force so the pressure stays gentle. Now here is what time does. Decade after decade, those arteries slowly lose that spring. The soft, flexible hose gradually turns into something more like a rigid pipe under the sink. And when a stiff pipe cannot expand to absorb the wave of blood, the force has nowhere to go, so the pressure reading climbs. This is called arterial stiffness, and it is one of the main reasons blood pressure rises as we get older. Now, what makes the artery stiffen in the first place? To answer that, I have to introduce you to the most important layer in your entire circulatory system, and it is a layer most people have never heard of. It is called the endothelium. The endothelium is the lining on the inside of every blood vessel you have. It is delicate, only a single cell thick, a thin wallpaper coating the inside of the pipe. And that thin layer is active. It is constantly making decisions, and its most important job is deciding, moment to moment, whether your artery should relax and open up or tighten and clamp down. Here is the problem. As we age, that endothelium gets worn down and it slowly loses its ability to make one specific molecule. This is the molecule that carries the message to relax. When production of that molecule drops, your arteries lose their signal to soften, they stay tight, they stiffen further, and your pressure drifts upward. So the real question becomes very simple. What is that molecule, and can we bring it back? That is exactly where this gets exciting. The molecule is called nitric oxide. Now, what is nitric oxide? In plain language, it is the chemical signal your body uses to tell your arteries to open up. When your endothelium releases nitric oxide, the muscle in the artery wall relaxes, the vessel widens, and blood flows through with less force. Less force against the wall means a lower number on the cuff. It really is that direct. Here's a detail almost nobody knows. This discovery was such a big deal that in 1998, 3 scientists were awarded the Nobel Prize in Medicine for figuring out that nitric oxide works as a signaling molecule in the cardiovascular system. A Nobel Prize for the molecule that controls your blood pressure. And yet, if you have never once heard your doctor mention it, you are in the large majority. Let me give you a picture for how it works. Imagine a busy highway at rush hour. The same number of cars are on the road, but when an extra lane opens up, everything eases. The congestion drops. Nitric oxide is what opens that extra lane inside your arteries. Same blood, more room, lower pressure. Now here's the part that connects to your morning glass of water. As we age, the body makes less and less nitric oxide on its own. By the time you are in your 60s, your natural production has fallen to a fraction of what it was in your 20s. That decline is one of the quiet engines behind rising pressure, so the goal is obvious. We want to restore nitric oxide. And here's the wonderful part. Your body has a backup route to make it, a second pathway, and this one runs on food. Certain foods are rich in natural compounds called nitrates. You swallow the nitrate, friendly bacteria in your mouth convert it into nitrite, and then your body turns that into nitric oxide. Nitrate to nitrite to nitric oxide. It is a supply line you can top up from your kitchen, and one food sits at the top of that list. The spoon is beetroot. Specifically, beetroot powder, which is simply beets that have been dried and ground into a fine powder you can stir into water. Beets are one of the richest, most concentrated sources of dietary nitrate you can put in your body, and that nitrate is the raw material your body uses to rebuild nitric oxide through the food pathway I just described. Now, leafy greens like spinach and arugula are also high in nitrate, and they are wonderful, but most of us are not going to eat a large bowl of arugula at 7 in the morning. A spoon of beetroot powder in a glass of water takes about 10 seconds, and it delivers a concentrated dose of nitrate in a form that is easy to take every single day. Consistency is the whole game here, and beetroot powder makes consistency easy. Let me be honest about the experience, because I want you to know what you are getting into. It is deep red. It will turn the water a color that looks a little dramatic. The taste is earthy, a little sweet, a little like the soil the beet grew in. Some people love it, some people tolerate it, and I will tell you, the first time you go to the bathroom after a good dose of beets, the color can give you a real fright. That is completely harmless. It is just the pigment passing through. Good thing somebody warned you. Now, you might be wondering, why not just take a nitric oxide pill or one of those pre-workout powders that promise the same thing? Because the beauty of beetroot is that you are giving the body the natural raw material and letting it make exactly what it needs, the way it was designed to. It is food. But here's where most people go wrong. The amount matters enormously, and a tiny sprinkle will do almost nothing. Before I give you the exact protocol, let me show you the actual science, so you know this is real. Let me take you to the study that put beetroot on the map. In 2008, researchers published a paper in the journal Hypertension, which is one of the most respected heart journals in the world. They gave healthy volunteers a dose of beetroot juice and then tracked their blood pressure over the following hours. Within about 3 hours, systolic blood pressure, the top number, had dropped by around 10 points from a glass of beet juice. And the effect tracked closely with the rise of nitrate in the blood, which is exactly what you would expect if nitric oxide is doing the work. Now, one study is a starting point, so let us zoom out. Researchers later pooled many trials together into what is called a meta-analysis, which simply means they combined the results of dozens of studies to see the overall pattern, and the pattern held. Across the research, dietary nitrate from beets consistently lowered systolic blood pressure, with average drops in the range of 4 to 5 points, and larger drops in some groups. Let me put that number in perspective, because 4 or 5 points might not sound like much. At the population level, a sustained drop of just a few points in systolic pressure is associated with a meaningfully lower risk of stroke and heart events. This is the same ballpark of improvement that people often chase with the first, gentlest steps of medication, from a spoon of a vegetable in water. I want to be careful and fair with you here. Keep taking your medication exactly as your doctor prescribed, because this is a tool that works alongside your body, and results do vary from person to person. What it is a genuine, well-documented tool that works with your body's own chemistry, backed by real research in real journals, that most people over 60 have simply never been told about. And there is one more piece of the puzzle that makes the morning the perfect time to use it. Let me show you why timing changes everything. Your blood pressure moves in a rhythm across the day. It dips to its lowest while you are asleep, and then, in the hour or two around waking, it climbs sharply to get you up and going. Doctors call this the morning surge. It is a normal part of how your body wakes up. Here is why that surge matters. That early morning window, when pressure jumps from its overnight low to its daytime level, is also the window when heart attacks and strokes are most likely to happen. The data on this is remarkably consistent. The hours after you wake are the riskiest hours of the day for your heart and your brain. Your arteries take the hardest hit right when you are pouring your first cup of coffee. So think about the strategy. If you know the storm tends to arrive in the morning, when do you want your defenses up? You want them up early, before and during that surge. You want nitric oxide already flowing, your arteries already relaxed and open, ready to soften that morning jump instead of taking its full force. That is the detail I promised you at the very beginning. It is not only that beetroot lowers pressure, it is that taking it in the morning lines the effect up with the exact window when your arteries need the most help. You are meeting the surge head on, with your vessels already relaxed and ready. The nitrate you take at breakfast begins converting to nitric oxide over the next couple of hours, which means a morning dose is working through the whole stretch of the day when your pressure runs highest. A morning dose covers the part of the day that actually counts for your heart. Now let me give you the exact way to do this. Here's the protocol, step by step, so there is no guesswork. Take 1 to 2 teaspoons of beetroot powder, stir it into a full glass of water, about 8 ounces, and drink it in the morning. If you are just starting, begin with 1 teaspoon so your taste buds and your stomach can get used to it and work up from there. That is the base. Now let me give you the amount that actually matters, because the research works on nitrate, not on spoons. You are aiming for a meaningful dose of dietary nitrate, the kind used in the studies, which a good quality beetroot powder will list on the label. Check that label. A quality powder concentrates the nitrate. A weak or heavily processed one may have very little left, and that is the difference between a glass that works and a glass that just stains your cup. Here is a booster that costs you nothing. Remember that friendly bacteria in your mouth do the first step of the conversion, turning nitrate into nitrite. So when you drink your beetroot water, take it slowly. Swish it around your mouth a little. Let it mingle. Give those bacteria their moment to work. It is a small thing that helps the whole chain get started. Take it with or without food, whichever sits better with you. Many people take it alongside breakfast and never think about it again, which is exactly the point. The best health habit is the one you actually keep. As for what to expect, give it time. Some people see a shift in their readings within the first week. For others, it takes 2 to 4 weeks of daily use for the effect to settle in. So here's my challenge to you. Get yourself a simple home blood pressure cuff, write down your numbers for a few days before you start, then take your beetroot water every morning for 14 days and check again. Try it for 14 days and prove it to yourself. Your own numbers will tell you the truth. Before you start, I have to warn you about 3 mistakes, because each one can quietly erase the entire benefit, and people make them without ever realizing it. The first mistake is the one that surprises everyone: antibacterial mouthwash. Remember, the whole system depends on friendly bacteria living in your mouth to make that first conversion from nitrate to nitrite. When you swish a strong antibacterial mouthwash, you wipe out those bacteria, the good along with the bad. Studies have actually measured this. People using antibacterial mouthwash showed a blunted nitrate response and, in some cases, a rise in blood pressure. So if you are drinking beetroot water in the morning and gargling away your nitrate bacteria right after, you are working against yourself. Go easy on the mouthwash, especially around your beetroot. The second mistake is using too little. This is the most common one by far. A light sprinkle of beetroot powder for flavor is not a therapeutic dose. It is like trying to fill a swimming pool with a garden hose and turning it off after 10 minutes. You never give the system enough to work with. If you want the result the study showed, you need a real, consistent dose. The 1 to 2 teaspoons of a quality powder we talked about. The third mistake is treating it like a one-time experiment. Your body clears nitrate and makes nitric oxide on a rolling basis, so the benefit comes from steady, daily topping up. People try it twice, feel nothing dramatic, and give up. That is like taking 2 days of a month-long course and deciding it does not work. The people who win with this are the ones who make it a quiet, boring, everyday ritual. Boring and consistent is exactly what you want here. Avoid those 3, and you give this every chance to do what the research says it can. Now let me speak plainly and responsibly for a moment, because I want this to help you and keep you safe. Beetroot is food, and for most people it is wonderfully safe. But there are a few situations where you need to check with your doctor first. If you already take blood pressure medication, and especially if you take a prescription nitrate for your heart, such as the medicines people use for chest pain, you need to have a conversation with your doctor before adding beetroot every day. The reason is simple. Beetroot works on the very same pathway as those drugs, so stacking them without guidance could push your pressure down further than intended. That is a conversation to have with the person who knows your full history. If you have kidney disease or you have a history of kidney stones, mention it to your doctor as well, because beets are also high in a compound called oxalate, which matters for some people with those conditions. And here is the most important rule of all. Keep taking your medication exactly as prescribed and do not change it on your own just because you started drinking beetroot water. Changing medication without supervision can be dangerous. The right way to do this is to add the beetroot, keep taking your medication, track your numbers at home, and then bring those numbers to your doctor. If your readings start improving, your doctor can decide, with real data in hand, whether anything about your treatment should change. You bring the information. They make the call. That is how you do this safely and intelligently. This is about walking into that appointment better informed with your own numbers as a real partner in your own care. So let us bring it all together. Blood pressure rises with age, largely because our arteries stiffen and our bodies make less nitric oxide, the molecule that tells those arteries to relax. Beetroot gives your body the natural raw material to rebuild that nitric oxide through food. Take 1 to 2 teaspoons of a quality beetroot powder in a glass of water each morning. Meet that morning surge with your arteries already relaxed. Go easy on the mouthwash, use a real dose, and keep it steady. Simple, cheap, and grounded in real science. Here's what I would love for you to do. Get a home blood pressure cuff, write down where you are today, and give this an honest 14 days. Then come back to this video and tell me in the comments what your numbers did. I read them, and stories like yours help everyone else watching find the courage to try. If this opened your eyes to something no one had told you before, do me a favor and hit that like button, because it genuinely helps this reach more people over 60 who have been left in the dark about their own bodies. And subscribe so the next lesson finds its way to you. I am Andrew Collins, and I will see you in the next video.